Hey, everybody. Coming up on today's podcast, The Counter Show, we have our new Mailbag segment, which we've got a few funny things to discuss there. I think you guys are going to like that. It seemed to be a big hit on the last podcast, so we're gonna go back we're gonna dig deep in the mailbag because it is the gift that keeps on giving. Wouldn't you say that, Keith?
Yes, indeed. We read your letters.
And by the way, hello, my friend.
What's up, man? Let's see. Tons of wow. This is kind of back to Stellantis for us. We've taken a hiatus from Stellantis. We've got a lot of Stellantis news. What else, Jay?
We've got a little bit more information on how that Cybertruck is coming and some accessories that are going to be coming with it. Tesla is in the news a lot lately as well. And I think we've got another player in the EV world that seems to be moving forward. Who might that be, Keith?
I hate to say I told you so.
So it's Nissan, and there is a big I told you so in the middle of that. So all that and so much more coming right up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the podcast. This is the pre-Christmas show. I think it'll be out before Christmas, won't it, Keith? Yeah, probably. You just need to subscribe just so you're notified when this thing comes out.
If it isn't, I wore the wrong shirt.
Oh, Snoopy. How are you, my friend?
Hey, man.
Yeah,
Hey, everybody.
My sister,
Hey, Jay.
Yeah. Hey.
What's happening?
I'm Jay. We are the Parts Kind of Gurus. That is my pal over there.
Do we really need to get into all this? If you're new,
No,
I guess if you're new, yeah. Well, we've gotten a lot of
right.
new. Yeah, okay. I digress.
Right.
Welcome in, everybody.
Right.
This
Absolutely
is a little show
welcome
we like to call the EV channel. Oh no, wait. Actually, we're
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're actually gonna have to broach that subject quite heavily today. But thank you guys for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/Parts Kind of Gurus. Thank you so much for that. Our viewership's up. Our subscriptions are up tremendously. And here's the key to that. By subscribing, some of these video segments that you will hear today on the audio podcast, you're probably going to see them over. And there's some interesting stuff that we do with these portions of our podcast. The visualization is really good. That kind of helps move the subject matter along a little bit. But if you're an audio person, then just go over to partskindofguru.com and hit the podcast links and choose whichever one you want to listen to.
yeah. So
and subscribe.
there is a good chance, like Jay just said, that if you leave a comment on our YouTube, any of our YouTube videos, and I always like to say bonus if you leave it on a video where we're reading the mailbag, because then it's like commenting on a comment on a comment on a comment.
This is true.
Anyway, but remember the golden rule, guys. And honestly, look, we're not perfect. We've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. But I ain't coming into your work and pooping on your desk. Don't do it to ours. So we had a guy. I don't even want to give this guy airtime, but I won't even. It was a video, and he left a comment, and basically he was thoroughly disgusted. It wasn't helpful, and it was completely shot wrong, and he just didn't care for it at all, and he was quite insulting, and the production value and all that. Well, really, man, you're welcome. It was a free video, and if you don't have anything nice to say,
just don't say it.
Yeah, just go. Okay,
move on.
Yeah,
we don't.
Okay, so you think it sucked? Move on. Go find somebody else. I don't see you doing
Right
this
on.
anyway.
We've got a lot of people that don't think it sucks, and they continue to watch. So
it just amazes me that that guy, right?
If you want to be that guy that thumbs down Eddie Van Halen on an isolated solo track,
yeah, that was not us. That was somebody that found.
It was somebody else.
What was it? Eruption? They found the recording.
No,
of
it was
Eruption.
Mean Street.
Okay,
Mean Street,
All
which
right.
is one fantastic isolated track for Eddie Van Halen. And somebody thumbs down the thing. What
like
the heck's
literally
wrong
the
with you
whole
people?
video was just. This was not our video. This was just somebody on YouTube, and we enjoyed it. because we do enjoy some good Van Halen. And they literally took Eddie's guitar track for the whole song and just isolated it, and that was the video. It was intended for you to be able to hear what was going on more prominently. Right. And somebody just goes thumbs down. All right, well, I get that it's not for you, but I think we need to... Here it is. We need to have a global consortium on what the rules involving when it is socially appropriate to do thumbs down etiquette, if you will, right? When is it appropriate, and what does it actually mean? And who knew this podcast was going there?
What is a thumbs down? Yeah, what is... Yeah, exactly.
For example...
Don't be a recyclable bag.
Does it mean I don't like it? Does it mean it sucks? Does it mean you suck? Does it mean I hate you? Does it mean... you're awful.
I mean, at least, just whatever, man. I mean, and speaking of Eddie Van Halen, I want to get this off my chest. I would like to say congrats to Wolf Van Halen, who has earned a Grammy nomination on his first solo album, his first album, which is fantastic, by the way. And he's out on tour. He's got some great dates. And I'd also like to give a nod to the great David Lee Roth, former lead singer of Van Halen, who just scored. I thought he was going to retire. Apparently not. Right off the bat, he added 4 new dates at his Vegas residency, and he's trying to stake claim into the design of the Frankenstrat, which has been proven wrong, Dave. So watch what you say, my friend.
Dave and Sammy showing up in Vegas doing residencies at the same time. That's interesting.
It is interesting. It is very interesting. But who knows, man? Maybe Wolf will tag along and he'll.
Oh my God!
He'll get up on stage, but he's not. Wolf. I got to give Wolf some love because that dude, man, he takes a lot of heat from Van Halen fans out there saying that he should be playing some Van Halen. Hey man, you don't sound
like Van. What is this? You're not. I thought this was going to be like Eddie version 2. Yeah.
Right. Or why don't you play some Van Halen as a tribute to your dad? Right. Why? That's just like asking Dave Grohl to do Nirvana songs. It's Foo Fighters, not Nirvana. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. It's Mammoth Van Halen. And somebody got on to him, speaking of comments, and said to him that he shouldn't be using the Mammoth Van Halen. He goes, well, it's my freaking name.
Yeah, right.
It's my name.
What do you call yourself Van Halen for? Oh, wait. Right. Yeah, it is your name.
It's only because he's the only child of Edward Van Halen. So there you go.
All right. So speaking of ridiculous comments, now these aren't actually ridiculous, but how about some mailbag stuff?
Let's get some mailbag stuff. Mailbobbies. Yeah. Oh.
All right, here we go.
Oh, there it is.
All right, so I actually kind of think I need to find a better one. I'm not sold on that one.
It's okay. It's good. I liked it. It got me going on my walk the other morning. I was like, all right. Sounds good. So
I found a couple from our Illuminator video, the first Illuminator video. Now that's where this comes in. I'd
say I told you so.
Because we filmed that Illuminator video months before Ford premiered it or featured it at SEMA. And then, of course, everybody took note. So, and by the way, if you're just tuning in, we're doing a new segment. It's our mailbag segment where we pick out some of your comments and read them on one of our video segments. So make sure that you leave a comment. Any video will do, and you might
in the words of the great Fonzarelli, correct the mundo.
Hey. All right, so Flight Industry says, now this is Flight, Flyte, and again, this is on the Illuminator video, says,
right.
Would you rip the Merlin engine from a P-51 Mustang and stick an electric motor in it? Of course not. No real, all caps with the word real, car enthusiasts will destroy their classic car by tearing out its engine. All right. Well, I'm going to stay out of the opinion side of this and just try to stick to the facts. Okay, so first of all, I have a lot of RC airplanes now. I know these aren't full scale. You're going to call me out on that. But I started flying the electric motor versions about 10 or 15 years ago, and I had the, the glow fuel, the old stuff, right, the nitro fuel.
Right.
And the electric stuff is typically torquier, it's lighter, it's faster, it's easier to deal with.
Right.
I mean, you don't have the charging you have on a larger scale. That's fair. But I would almost argue that, I mean, they're making EV planes now. Yeah. And also, as far as the, real car enthusiast will destroy their classic car by tearing out its engine. All right. Well, is Jay Leno not a real car enthusiast?
Right. Or Chip Foose or what about RTR vehicles? I mean, they had a Mach-E out there, the Cobra 1400E,
well, I
right?
mean, clearly nobody's doing this, right? Like, to this guy's point, nobody's doing this. That's why they're sold out. That's why the Ford motor is sold out. The Ford Illuminator crate motor is sold out because nobody's doing this. So point taken, buddy. Yeah.
So get on your plane, dude, and fly out of here. And your P50.
We're not even an EV channel, but I've said this before. Great plane.
And by the way, we're not an aircraft channel either. We don't get into aviation. Maybe a little bit with like drone stuff and some of this new EV, like taxi, all electric taxi, flying taxi stuff that's coming out, like EVTOL. And I mean, I think GM is even introducing an electric aircraft. Electric aircraft, sir. Electric aircraft, sir. But anyway, thank you, Flight Industries, for popping by our channel to leave a comment and watch our video on electric motors being installed into anything you want to install them into. You do know that we have the right to do that.
We're not even an EV channel. Again, we're just pointing to current events and what happens.
Pointing things out.
Let the facts speak for themselves. It ain't going away. It's not going away.
Nope. And if you have a rub, go over to Ford and tell them how much you dislike their Illuminator. Okay. I do. I've got a couple. I'm going back to an oldie but goodie video that I shot. It was like one of the first summers that you came out, and we got the drone out, and we wanted to do a little piece on the roundabout, how to drive through a roundabout, which really got a lot of attention. I felt good after releasing the video because I had no idea that there was a lot of people like me out there that were so frustrated with the lack of the ability to drive through one. So we had a guy, a person that left a comment. Spud Forcible is the person who commented, and the comment says the key to roundabouts is you have to trust the other drivers. Considering they hand out driver's license to any idiot in most states, I lack that trust, so I'm always cautious with these things since my closest near accidents have been in roundabouts.
I kind of agree with this person.
Exactly.
Now, in your area, Jay, where we filmed that video, I've been on a bicycle in roundabouts, and I have witnessed people. So the game is, it's just like racing, right? Where you try to find the straightest line through the roundabout so that you don't have to take your foot off the accelerator. I mean, that's the right way to go through a roundabout, right?
Right.
Especially when it's posted like 15 miles an hour and you're doing 45. If you can just find your straight line through that roundabout and not decelerate, that is the objective, correct?
Yeah. Yes, it is the objective. It's to keep the flow through the entire roundabout. And you are being sarcastic, but I get it. But it is absolutely correct. I mean, that's what you do. You want to keep the flow through the roundabout. Use your signal when you go to exit, so that's kind to the other one coming in, so they know where you're going and they can zipper merge on in and do their thing. Look, roundabouts are really easy, man. The concept for someone to say they're stupid, man, I would like to argue that point. You go ahead and sit in traffic at that traffic light while three or four go on and on and on.
Research data. The reason they're bringing these back, to your point, is that the data has been out that shows that it does help with congestion with the flow of traffic, but also there are fewer accidents.
It does. Right, until you get people that don't know how to drive through one that cause them.
Is a quarter mile back and he's doing 55 and he ain't letting off, and I'm pulling into the roundabout expecting that everybody approaching is doing the speed limit, which is 15, and he's already in the intersection and I'm just barely merging in, right?
Right. And by the way, just a little tidbit, a little helpful hint here. If I'm coming into the roundabout and I can clearly see that I have enough room to get into the roundabout as you're driving through the roundabout, don't blow your horn at me. I didn't pull out in front of you. That's what we're all pulling out in front of each other in the roundabout. That's what we do, people. So stop laying on the horn when I pull out in front of you, because I'm going to do it again. Anyway, so there you go. Thank you for that comment on there, man. I appreciate it. It's been really good, man.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a lot of people like me out there on that.
Yeah. Well,
so you got another one?
All right. Wacko Banana Pants. Now, this is also on the
I love
Illuminator
that.
video. We've had so many views on the Illuminator video. Wacko Banana Pants. Sometimes I think I'm just picking these based on their profile name. Wacko Banana Pants says, I'm just going to keep saying that. This is, again, on the Illuminator, Ford's electric crate motor. No bueno if I need two, all caps, of these motors to get 500 horsepower. Retrofitting one motor in place of a gas motor is one thing, but you would need to completely refab the back half of a muscle car to fit a motor in there. Call me when you get 1,000 horsepower from a single motor. All right, well, which is it, 500 or 1,000? And also, I would check the specs on size on these, especially the Illuminator, because if you pancake two of those in, I mean, it depends on the muscle car, but if we're talking about something from the 60s or early 70s, you're probably with two of them still right around the same size as the original internal combustion engine.
If you put
if you
somehow retroed and put a single motor on each wheel to have four motors, that will equate to 1,000 horsepower. That will equate to what, $16,000? Yeah.
Yeah, minus, as everybody always points out, minus the charge controller and the battery
packs. But still,
I mean,
$16,000 is really kind of a drop in the bucket when you're talking about
for
1,000 horsepower gasoline engine. Trust me when I tell you this.
So, and here's the thing, you guys that are saying, like, again, I'm just trying to come at you from a point of factual information. We have seen this done. We have seen muscle cars retrofitted. We have seen them on display at SEMA and SEMA Electrified, and we've seen how they use that space. And first of all, not only can it be done, but it kind of it's an interesting, I mean, they typically end up with more space than they would have were they to have gone with an internal combustion engine.
Keith. You can put four motors on there, and I don't think it's going to weigh as much as a 1,000 horsepower big block.
Well, it's not, but it depends on how much range you want, right? Like if you're just going to drag race this thing, you can keep it super light and put
which
a small
is exactly
battery
what
pack in
RTR did. When you're drifting and stuff like that, short range stuff. I mean, those things are fast, man. I mean, 1,400 horsepower, man. Yeah, that's nothing to speak lightly of. But look, hey, if you've got performance builders out there like RTR and Ford Performance overall, I mean, GM's doing it. If you've got this going on, hey man, it's a viable option to the performance world. So just saying. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be one showing up in NASCAR soon. Didn't we hear something like that?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of, just COVID has changed timelines on everything. But yeah, it's gonna.
Absolutely, COVID has changed a lot of things. I mean, I mean, can we get the last 2 years back?
Right.
I mean, holy cow, man.
All right, you got another one? You got
I
one
do.
more?
This is my last one. This is on. Again, Keith didn't twist my arm. He didn't have to talk me into it. I always kind of go with his gut feeling, and Keith is always finding these nice little nuggets of information out there, and we're both big fans of Kit and Hasselhoff, and we love Knight Rider. It was a great series. We absolutely loved it. And this right here is I felt was a really cool comment. It's left by BJI82A. He says, and this was on our Kit video we did again, if this is true, and we asked, what would you want? We asked everybody to tell us, what would you think the car should be? What if Kit comes back now, what should it be? EV, Hummer, whatever, right?
Hotbed of controversy, Jay. Be careful where you step.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So he says, or this person says, If this is true, I would love to see Kit on the big screen. We already have Ghostbusters Afterlife, so I can see this happening. And here are my car thoughts. If it follows the first series, then it will be the Trans Am or a Mustang in the second. However, this could be used to try and promote new EVs as well, since we don't have turbine fuel, and I can say that somehow car, K-A-R-R, will be in the movie as well as Goliath. They should have thought about bringing back the old Trans Am as an EV. This is a cool sci-fi series that shouldn't be overlooked. I couldn't agree more. He's open to just about anything. Threw out a few nuggets of what he would like to see or this person would like to see. I even saw one earlier that was really interested in the Hummer. I mentioned the Hummer in that, remember? It's all electric. Yep. So, well, why not, man? What are your thoughts on that? Trans Am, electric TA?
If it's done right.
Yeah.
If it's we're bringing the Firebird back on a hood just because I guess Pontiac, so understand everybody, my exposure to Pontiac was not the original generation Pontiacs. I came into being familiar with Pontiacs during the era that this car that we're talking about, Knight Rider, was prominent.
Right.
The 80s.
Right.
Pontiac in the 80s and 90s
not that good.
Was a very they had quality issues.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the Fieros, you had, it just wasn't the Sunbirds or Sunfires or whatever in the world. I mean, they were just putting Pontiac on anything, and it was like, it was almost a cheaper brand that GM put out, and they did some damage to the name.
They really did.
And ultimately, they killed it because of that.
Yeah.
I think those reasons. So if they want to bring Pontiac back and they want to do it in a way that's not going to just try to appeal to the entry level low cost crowd, then I'm okay with that. Sure.
Yeah.
Do an EV TA.
Why not?
Right? Now we're just doing acronyms, but sure.
EVTA. Ooh, I like that. That'd be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you're right about Pontiac. They really struggled in the 80s and 90s, and again, it led to eventually dropping brands. GM cut. I mean, Saturn went away, Pontiac went away, Oldsmobile has gone away now. So now you're just left with Buick and Chevrolet, GMC, and Cadillac, basically. So yeah, we get it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense from a business model anyway, because then you're not like, all these different brands you have to deal with. So I say it's kind of like a menu when you go into a bar or a restaurant. The one-sided menu where this is all you have, you're kind of more likely to go ahead and just jump on that hamburger that jumps out at you first, rather than the books that you get at some places. It's so confusing. How do you get good at what you have on the menu?
Well, this is a point of frustration for me. Jay, I live life hungry. Okay, I'm hungry, man. I'm always going. I'm always hungry, both figuratively and literally.
Right.
I like to eat. I live life hungry, and my family, we go to these restaurants, and these two, it's like we're reading War and Peace, man. I mean, it's like the server's been back 4 times already, and I'm like, can I order some food here? I mean, are you all done with the last chapter of whatever novel you're? And so I've had to strategically start to do what you're suggesting, which is basically like, I'll highlight a certain page. Have you all seen this page? And I'll open it up and I'll put it. Ooh, doesn't this look interesting, right? And I'm just putting it right. How about this? And all I'm trying to do is just encourage them. Or I'll do the thing where I'll sandbag them. I'll go, ooh, I think I see our waiter. He's headed this way. Do you guys know what you want to eat? Because again, I'm just trying to. I have an objective. I'm trying to get there.
I'm with you, man. And I just think that restaurants and bars need to go with the Costco business model, which is, you sell one brand of ketchup, because if I'm coming in to buy ketchup, I'm probably going to buy the ketchup. Instead, you've got 40 different ones on the shelf at a Safeway or something. And it's like, which one, what do I buy here? And it won't be Hunt's. I'm a Heinz guy. You a Heinz guy?
Yeah, I kind of don't care. Ketchup to me is sort of.
Oh man, ketchup to me is like the Pepsi Coke thing, man.
Well, I like the special stuff, the mayo chup.
Yeah,
let you get
yeah.
it, like the Freddy's
Yeah, I
places
get
where
it.
they mix the
Right, like
you know,
special
and
sauce
so-
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I tend to gravitate toward if it's a restaurant that has their own sauce,
Yeah.
I'll go that way,
Okay.
like a Waldo's or something.
Or like an In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, exactly.
In-N-Out, monster style, man. Good stuff, right? Or animal
if,
style.
If you give me a choice, I'm usually not going to go with the Heinz or
Right.
Hunt. I'm going to go with their house.
Yeah.
Special,
That's just what you have to
whatever.
do. It's like faux pas if you go in there and you don't have that, man, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So, wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Good stuff, man.
All right. We haven't done this in a while. I'm going to make an attempt to bring this one back for one special segment. You want to do some news?
Yes. Live from the news desk.
All right. Got a news. This is near and dear to both Jay and my heart for a lot of reasons, but going to be on a little bit of a humorous approach. Okay. Alzheimer's, very serious issue, very serious mental disease. I've had family members. My dad died, complications due to Alzheimer's. Jay's had family members the same. My mom's got dementia. Okay, so we have people that are close to us right now that are starting to go through stages of it. But there has been some progress made. Now, this is an article that I found on the website sciencealert.com. Mm-hmm. Have you read the headline yet?
I have, and just boy,
All right,
boy,
here it is,
oh boy,
everybody.
we're okay.
Now, for the ladies out there, I'm not sure what you're going to do, but giant study finds Viagra is linked to almost a 70% lower risk of Alzheimer's.
Holy moly!
Yes, that blue pill. All right, so according
That's got to
to
be hard on the brain, man.
Yep. Use of the medications sildenafil, better known to most as the brand name drug Viagra, is associated with a dramatically reduced incidence of Alzheimer's, according to a new study.
Wow.
It's led by the researchers at the Cleveland Clinic, and they are basically saying it can lower your risk of developing Alzheimer's by 70%. And that's based on an analysis of health insurance claims data. So they're using actual people that have been taking it. Over 7.2 million people apparently in this study, and records show that claimants who took the medication. So just for a second here, these are the people that are admitting to taking Viagra, okay?
Right.
In which record shows that claimants who took the medication were much less likely to develop Alzheimer's over the next 6 years of follow-up compared to matched control patients who didn't use sildenafil or Viagra, right? So, I mean, I don't see the downside here. I'm kind of thinking I just need to go out and sign up for the blue pill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, for me, I mean, I don't have any problems. I'm just saying. But
What?
I would take
now.
it.
You've got,
No, I would definitely take it if I knew that it lowered my risk of Alzheimer's,
Sure.
because
I mean,
I know what a terrible
there's
disease
taking one for the
that
team,
is.
and then there's taking one for the team.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, even though it would be hard on the brain,
Careful, Jay.
I'm sure. But anyway, so I
Play
the
that one
other
back.
thing I'm sitting here,
Yeah.
right. So, and they're also saying that it's not the first time sildenafil use has been linked with better health outcomes. With the drug previously showing promise in a range of different scientific contexts, including cancer and malaria research. How about that?
So again, everybody, just reporting the facts.
It truly is the miracle
Wouldn't
drug,
think
man.
of doing anything other than reporting factual information on this program. Not trying to encourage anything other than just factual, helpful information here. But looks like if you go out and get you some Viagra, you're going to be much less risk of Alzheimer's. So
Yeah, get rid of
There
that
you go.
aluminum foil, man.
And-
Too. Don't cook with that. You'll be good to go.
you're welcome, everybody.
All right, good job, man. That's nice. Wow. All right, so
I mean,
man,
Jay,
we've got
there's
a plate
just
full.
times when things jump out at you and you're like, oh, we've got to do this.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, well, I think it's a valuable piece of information. And you're right. I mean, sometimes you never know where a drug's going to take you. This stuff's been out, for what, couple decades now.
Yeah,
Isn't it
Yeah, I think
Viagra?
so. Yeah.
I even think the late Bob Dole was like a spokesman for Viagra, for the longest time.
Wait, is he not? I thought he was going to live forever.
No,
is he not?
He passed away. No, he's gone, man. He died yesterday or this week or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
98 years old, I think.
December.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. December 5th, 2021. So
I think he was battling cancer.
for a good while. Yep.
Right. So, but 98 years old, maybe dude was taking Viagra, and that's what you never know. Could have had some effects on his time on this planet. I don't know. Legendary senator, right?
Yeah, looking forward to the Norm Macdonald Bob Dole reunion there.
Ooh, that
two Bob Doles in the same room.
Totally forgot about that, man. Totally forgot about that. Which, by the way, not Norm, but Norman. What's the guy's name from Saturday Night Live? God, I'm blank space. The one that runs Saturday Night Live. The producer.
Oh, Lorne.
Lorne Michaels.
Yes.
He was just received a Kennedy Center Honors.
Huh.
Which was
go.
very fitting for him, man. That'll air on December 22nd, I think, on CBS. So stay tuned for that, I think, which is fun. I always love the Kennedy Center Honors. So real quick, before we get into the rest of the stories that we have today, real quick shout out. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and click the notifications bell, and that's youtube.com/Parts County Gurus, because I am off to the Performance Racing Industry Show in Indianapolis, and I do believe that Keith will make his way up there. At least I hope we can connect and bring you guys some more valuable content. But to catch that stuff, you're going to need to be subscribed to our channel. Or you can search for it, but it's easier just to subscribe. It really is, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, we'll do a PRI playlist on YouTube, just like we did for SEMA, so you can just watch one right after the other.
Yeah, that's it, man. So, someone whom we have not talked about in a long time, Keith, and you found this, and there's actually 3 Stellantis stories that we can just kind of like get into here.
Or 4, or 5.
Or 4, whatever. So apparently, Mercedes and Stellantis have invested into Factorial Energy. They're a company that has a breakthrough in
oh, wait, what? What kind of battery technology?
That would be solid state.
I hate to say I told you so.
Exactly. How many times have we said that the batteries as we know them now are a bridge to get to where we're going?
Like just twice. I think that's all we've said on this. I hope everybody knows I'm seething with sarcasm today. I think it almost every time we've been on the air, we've talked about anytime an EV comes up, solid state is not too far behind in conversation.
No, solid state batteries, I do believe, is the way ahead even further. And then I think it'll change from there. I mean, they're looking at alternative materials to cobalt, which will reduce the cost of these things as well. Similar types of situations went on in the engine component side of the business, like valves, for example, on heavy duty diesel applications. Metallurgical stuff, like the cost of an exhaust valve on, say, a Caterpillar 3500 series. They're big valves. They're well over 2-inch head diameters, and the stem diameters are half-inch in some cases. And they're made out of Inconel, which is a cobalt-based alloy. Those things cost, well over $100 a piece just for the valve. So it's very expensive.
So it's magic
during those
then?
time frames, yeah, it's magic pretty much. But the thing is that we as consumers are always looking for the best bang for the buck. You don't necessarily want a value engineered component. You want an alternative that works as well and you can benefit from it, but at a lower cost. And we're always striving to do that in the automotive industry. And this sector of the automotive industry is no different than that, which is finding a better way at a more affordable cost at the end of the day for consumers, which is going to tie into some other things that we're going to talk about here today. The cost of these things are just huge. Electric vehicle costs are
that's
way
why
up.
Sir Richard Dyson got out of the EV development.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Dyson, yes, that guy, the vacuum cleaner manufacturer, was test piloting an EV, an electric vehicle program, and he bankrolled that himself, and basically got out of it because it was cost prohibitive. He just and they were looking down the road of solid state, no pun intended. That's where he wanted to go.
Yeah, and I think that people have, when you're an entrepreneur like that, and you've got so many irons in the fire anyway, it's kind of best to kind of sit back and let the technology kind of catch up with you. Let somebody else focus on that, which is like what we talked about with the Ford Google thing. Why not just let those guys concentrate on what they specialize in, and we'll just kind of tag along with you and help invest into that technology.
Let me ask you a question, Jay.
Sure.
Sidebar here.
Okay.
Have you seen Sir Richard Dyson? You've seen what he looks like, right? You've seen him on commercials and stuff.
Sure.
You seen Tim Cook from Apple?
Yeah.
Same person?
I think they could pass for
just
twins.
Change the accent.
They're in the same corridor.
I think maybe that's actually going on. You think it's the same guy and he's running two separate companies? I got it. So,
could be. It's another breakthrough in Viagra.
Iron Man 2. Wow, this just went way off the deep end. Iron Man 2, there was the bad guy in the movie. His name was the Mandarin, and he was played by a great actor, Sir Ben Kingsley. Lots of knights in today's discussion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Ben Kingsley's a very accomplished Shakespearean actor, but he played this role, and it turns out at the end of the movie, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, it's been out 10 years, but he actually was just a hired gun. He was an actor portraying a bad guy. He was just playing a role. He was kind of a puny little wimp that played table tennis all day, right? It guy sort of came out at the end of the movie that he wasn't really the bad guy. So he was an actor. He was a character playing a character playing a character, right, in a movie. So I could potentially see this guy that's doing the Tim Cook, Richard Dyson thing. Same deal, right? They just hired a guy. He shows up on camera to be the CEO, right? Changes his accent. One of these days, he's going to forget which company he's representing, and he's going to show up with the Richard Dyson accent at an Apple press conference, and then you're in trouble, right? I'm sorry. Were you trying to have a serious conversation here about solid state batteries?
Oh no. I think people know us all too well that we can't go there without going there. That's just kind of the way we are. We have to. We would like to weave you in and out of the story and keep the connectivity going. But so for those of you who don't know who Factorial Energy is, they're a Massachusetts-based 6-year-old startup developer of solid-state batteries.
Lots of stuff going on in that area, probably because of MIT, because you have robotics companies that started in that area not too long ago too. Right,
and here's what's nice. And I think this is really cool. When I started looking into this and doing a little bit of research on who these guys were and who were involved, Mercedes-Benz and Stellantis are not two small players at all. I mean, they're pretty big conglomerate, huge corporations. What I found interesting is that, say maybe 10 years ago, both of these companies were like, no, we're not going there with EVs. We're not going there. But now you have them, they see the potential, but they also see the direction the industry is going. And if they don't do something, they're going to get left behind. Then you may not have the costs to move forward. And we'll get into a little bit of that too. But what I found interesting is that, Hyundai and Kia in October of 2021 also invested into these guys, telling me that these are companies that are investing strongly into the EV world, and this is where it's at, and this is where it's going.
Time and time again, we've told you guys this current generation of EVs is not the end game. This is basically a transitional stage. We all know there's problems with the batteries now. They're too volatile. The range is an issue. The charging time is an issue. And then it's kind of circular back to the volatility if you charge them too fast and all that. Just ask Chevy Volt owners. But
absolutely.
This is where it's going. I really, yes. I think, we've seen
it is definitely
the
where it's going. This is the next. Yep, this is the next step, and it's a space saver. The way they can produce these things, as well as it's like you just said, it's a lot less volatile, cost effective. There's a number of reasons why this is going to be a win. So the company did explain that its proprietary solid electrolyte material and factorial electrolyte systems technology, or what they call FEST, enables it to produce safe and reliable solid-state battery cells, which as first in the world reached 40 amp hour capacity at room temperature.
Well, now
that's pretty huge.
Okay, and so this is where it's going to have to be done, is with these super smart startups that are venture capitalist funded in many cases. And the reason is because of cost. And this is something else that Jay and I have talked about a lot. Now, so let's just carry this thought into, I don't know if we're going to end up doing 2 segments here or running them all together, but Stellantis CEO just recently came out and talked exactly about that issue of cost in electrification, right?
Yes.
And do you have it? I have it if you don't.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you're exactly right. My intention was to we have a few Stellantis pieces of news that we want to keep on the same page here because it's all relative to what we're trying to get across today. So yes, go.
For those of you that are not as familiar with the brand Stellantis, or I guess the parent company Stellantis, as some of us are, that includes companies like Jeep, of course, Dodge, Chrysler. Then you get into some of the European lines. Fiat, Citroen, Opel, Maserati, if you're into the luxury side, Vauxhall, Ram, of course, if I didn't say Ram, the truck line.
Jeep, Ram,
Yeah, and Alfa Romeo, just to name a few, okay? So
huge.
The CEO, Carlos Tavares, made a statement recently, and this is all around the concept of electrification that we were just talking about, and Stellantis is investing in, and we're about to tell you in just here in a few minutes on another way that they're investing in electrification. But he said there was a Reuters Next conference, and he said that basically they're getting external pressure from governments of the world and from investors to go EV. And this is another thing that we've talked about time and time again, that the automotive industry is driven and has always been driven by peer pressure. It is what it is. Right. It's unfortunate in some cases, but it's just that's the way it's always been. Okay.
Yep.
So they're reactionary to some extent. Now, then you get into examples like Rivian and Tesla, where those guys just went out and basically bucked the system, but they took huge risks in doing so. The larger companies like Stellantis and Ford and General Motors, they have to be more careful because they have to answer to shareholders. They have to, their profit margins are on the line. Okay, if they can't, if they fail, it's a big deal. That's a bigger deal.
That's exactly right.
So he basically came out and said the costs are too steep right now, and we can't it would take basically us passing on 50% of the electrification cost to the consumer. Ain't nobody going to buy one.
No, they're not.
Now, I take a little bit of a disagreement with him because I don't think he's been watching us. Because we have pointed out, Jay, and I can hear you got a bone to pick with this, but that's where your Christian Koenigseggs of the world do it in the hypercar line where the cost is exorbitant, and they're able to absorb that, and then it trickles down, in the Maserati side, for example, and then it trickles down into the consumer grade stuff, right?
Right. And I think the biggest fear that Carlos has is, like you said, passing the 50% on to the consumer just doesn't work. I agree with that 100%. It can in certain sectors, but not the average consumer. Okay, and that's what I think he clearly states in that, is that we've got to be very mindful that not the average consumer can afford a $120,000 all-electric vehicle. And he's right now. But I think that in 10 years, that mindset is going to change, because you're going to see a shift in where consumers are putting their dollars.
Yeah.
And if you're building a product where the cost is more costly in the upfront than in the long run, I think that people could get on with that program. Whereas for us now as consumers, our costs actually come at the end of the life of the vehicle rather than in the beginning of. You see what I'm saying?
So now here is the catalyst okay, so if we go down that road like you just said, where people look to spend a little more, part of the problem here, and Carlos, I know you weren't at the helm when this whole problem started, but the auto industry has just to some extent themselves to blame for this. Allow me to explain, okay? We have when Henry Ford revolutionized the assembly line all the way through probably the 1960s, when my parents were buying Fords. There was this, people kept cars for longer.
Right.
Okay? They were heavier. They were cost of inflation adjusted probably a little bit more than they are today.
I think
we
so.
didn't have the credit cards that we have today. We didn't have the lines of credit like we have today. It was a different game. You saved up and then you for years, and then you bought what you wanted, okay, or what you could afford. The automotive industry, and there are other industries that are guilty of this as well, have gotten into this whole trap of planned obsolescence. And so they're making cars with the expectation that you're not going to keep that car more than 5 years. They've got lease programs where you keep it for 2 or 3 years. And so they are counting on you coming back in line at the dealership in 5 years or less to buy another one.
Right.
And they need that revenue, and they have factored it now into their model of revenue. The problem with that is what we have today. So Carlos said there basically are two paths through this. We sell fewer cars, or we accept lower profit margins. Well, if you sell fewer cars, you're going to raise the price, and then your profit margins would not be lower.
Exactly.
How about we sell fewer cars, and we make them to last?
Right, which I think the EV of any type of vehicle out there is the answer to that. And that's why I said your cost up front will...
And it's less pollution, right? It's less cars in landfills. It's less it's a greener, if you will, concept. Keep that car on the road longer, build it with quality.
Right.
Charge more for it if you need to, but stop this nonsense of planned obsolescence.
Right, and I think that this time that we're in right now deserves to have, and I'm sure someone's already out there looking at the statistics on this, the analytics overall of what the average consumer has invested into their vehicle and what their overall life of the vehicle cost to operate actually is on an EV. We're so new into this. I don't think we probably have a bit of a cloud over that, so to speak, because there's so many variables over the last 10 years of the electric vehicle market.
And one of the big variables right now, Jay, is if you buy an EV in today's world, what the manufacturers aren't going to admit this or tell you this, but you're really investing in future development. Like, that's not... Yeah. The stuff they're selling now is kind of reactionary because peer pressure has demanded it. It's not ultimately where we're going to end up long term, right? So that's a huge variable. Like, you're probably not going to... I don't know. I mean, that Tesla might be around for 10 years. That Ford Mach-E might be on the road for 10 years. You might keep it that long, but I kind of don't think so.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, if you want to give an analogy to this thing, and I know I'm going to have people hit me over the head of this. There'll be comments about it. Please feel free to comment. We love that. And if we pick your comment on our mailbag, you'll listen to it. But you got to subscribe to our podcast and our channel to get that. But vinyl went the way of 8-track. 8-track went the way of cassette. Cassette went the way of CD, compact disc. Compact disc has now gone the way of streaming. And this is... Consumer habits change, but they don't change on their own. They change because the technology changes. You guys asked for this. This is you put this in front of us. And when you show someone something new and how viable of a product that it is, and the growth potential, what's expected down the road from it, it works. I mean, but now, you've got... I talked to someone the other day about how the explosion of vinyl has come back. The drop of the needle on the record, that sort of stuff. There's always... we all love to go back to our past and just relive those things. That's why we restore vehicles. That's why electric, like the Illuminator, is a viable solution to being able to restore those old vehicles in the future. There's a lot of things here at play, and I think that this is a really good hard look at the future of them saying, and he asked the great question, how do we get over this? How do we get beyond this? The problem that Stellantis had, or back in the day, it was Daimler, Chrysler, Jeep, whatever, before Stellantis took over, like you said, this was kind of an inherited problem. They did not invest into the electric vehicle side of the industry until it was almost too late. Right?
Reactionary, peer pressure driven.
That's it.
They don't spend their money like, for example, like Honda maybe. I'm thinking on the motorcycle or the power sports side, or Yamaha, where they're pushing the envelope with an R&D division.
Exactly.
Now, to be fair, got a little news here. Stellantis. Now, I found this on CarBuzz, but Stellantis does have some active R&D going on.
I think this is cool.
And I kind of disagree with the title. I understand it was just to get clicks and eyeballs, but it says Stellantis is building a real-life slot car racing track. So, kind of. I mean, the concept is basically if you've not ever owned a slot car, you're missing out. But you had two cars that could race simultaneously, and there was a little gun with a trigger on it, and you could give it power, and they were electric, and there was little slots on the track that these cars drove on, and they have a full-size IRL, in real life version, if you will, of that. And it has wireless charging for vehicles, for electric vehicles, every so often. Just as I'm looking at it here, it looks like they're maybe about every 20, 30 feet apart. And they're basically, they're wirelessly sending power, in true Nikola Tesla fashion, to these vehicles as they travel around a closed-loop course, right?
Absolutely.
They're not really racing. Yeah. There's no control of them like a slot car.
No, it's just a track. It's a proving ground, basically, is what it is. And they've wired this thing up to be able to charge these vehicles. Yeah,
well, you can do it with your phones now. I mean, they do have to be within a certain range. And they're saying that the results are encouraging, which is a good thing.
And again, you absolutely are. Now, check this out. Here's an argument that keeps coming up about, well, we go all electric vehicles, people are going to lose jobs. Well, somebody's inventing this stuff and manufacturing this stuff. I mean, that's creating jobs. Well,
I guess my question to that would be, if you want to play the part of that person that would make that argument, is what jobs? Which jobs specifically?
Right. Yeah,
engine
things shift and change.
Is that the jobs you're talking about? I mean, you've got the AERA hat on today. I mean, is that the argument?
I think that there is the big fear that's going to happen, and I personally don't see that. I don't see it taking those jobs away.
I don't know that it would. Right. So you may have to learn a new technology, but there's still going to be some sort of propulsion system in these automobiles, right?
Exactly.
And I would hope that we don't get in this habit of, like we just talked about, just throwing the cars away when they get to 100,000 miles, or if the coils in these electric cars go bad, that we don't just throw the whole car away, right? Like, can we not rebuild electric motors also? I mean, sure.
It's already happening. Yeah, it's already happening.
So where are these jobs that are taken away? I mean, you guys leave us a comment. Tell us if you are in that school of thought and you think that the introduction of the electric vehicle by the automotive manufacturers like Ford, GM, Stellantis is getting rid of jobs. Where? What jobs?
Right.
I want to hear from you. What jobs?
Right. I mean, Ford's investing billions of dollars. I mean, they're not just investing it to the air.
They're building out massive facilities, right?
Yeah, and that in itself creates jobs in the construction world, that sort of stuff. The electricians that it takes to wire these buildings up, and then the people to be, in the manufacturing process of these things. The human element will be there to some degree. Look, it's an argument. I get it. I understand, but I also take a look at the last 2 years, and Keith and I have spoken about this, that if if you didn't figure out how to work from home or kind of change up what you were doing over the last 2 years to create income for yourself, then you've got to make adjustments at some time in your life.
I'm not very computer literate.
Yeah, that's exactly hitting the head of the nail.
So you don't want to learn.
You hear that,
right?
Right.
Basically, that's time. I mean, do you think people that when Henry Ford refined the assembly line, do you think he got a lot of people going, I don't think those things are ever going to beat my trusty old horse? I mean, that's laughable now, but
they did. I mean, they did. That's exactly. I mean, you hear that all the time. The industry's changing. It's going by way of the horse and carriage, the horse and buggy. I hear that, but you have people like myself who embraces the automotive industry in every way, shape, and form. No matter what it'll be in 30 years, I still have an extreme love and passion for the industry itself. My dad as well. I mean, you guys have seen my dad on a podcast. Or heard him on a podcast, and he and I've had great conversations about the electric vehicle. He thinks it's great. He loves innovation, but my dad is also one to innovate. He has that passion to figure out something, how to do something better. I mean, that's why the man built his own CNC machine. I mean, it's just he's 78 plus years old, and he uses a computer. He runs CAD design. I mean, he's. I'm just saying.
Listening to the podcast on his iPhone, right?
Don't limit. Yeah, absolutely. Don't limit yourself by not trying. Well, don't say, "Oh, that'll never work."
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what the whole Steve Jobs. That's why he was Steve Jobs, right? That was his
exactly
his mentality. So, just to close the loop on this. This is it's called the Arena del Futuro, Arena of the Future, if you prefer in English. It's outside of Milan. They are testing buses on it. It's 1,050 meters long right now. It uses dynamic wireless power transfer, DWPT, kind of industry jargon there.
Which is pretty much the same thing as the cell phone charging, right? You just lay it down on the pad and it charges, right? Induction charging,
And, and they're testing it with buses, and they've got special equipment on them, of course, and all that. So, so we'll see where this goes, but it's definitely pushing the envelope.
I'm on board.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean,
so there you go. I think that right there is the type of stuff you need if the industry is going to grow, if the EV market's going to grow. These are the types of innovations that have to happen. And if that's the direction we're going, then I can see that working. And we've got all of these infrastructure things happening around us, Keith. And where do you invest? And it looks like everybody is on board with investing into the electric vehicle world now. Again, it's going to change. It'll continue to change. It'll be like a chameleon. It's going to change so many times, but right before our eyes. So, all right. Anyway, while we're on the subject of electric things, boy, I had no idea waking up today that this was going to be where we would go with this. But I continue to pinch myself and go, gosh, man, when's the last time we talked about a big block Chevrolet?
I just had
something.
This thought, like literally just, during this podcast of it is getting more and more difficult to find content that's of interest out there that's internal combustion related.
Right.
You might say, Jay, if we were in the previous segment talking about Alzheimer's, that it's getting harder and harder to. Anyway, I digress. So, it is. Electrification is dominating the news feed. It is dominating the press releases that come out that companies like Ford provide to us, Stellantis,
SEMA even,
all of it.
SEMA even.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, SEMA had a huge press release talking about just an unbelievable amount of electrification that was going on at the show this year. It was fantastic. Yeah. It was great. But, look, you don't kick it to the curb. You embrace it and move on, because that's the industry is changing right now. It's changing, and we got to stick with it. So we're here to deliver that news to you. So I'm really excited about this, but I do realize what it is.
Yeah,
it's not what you think it is, but it's a cute little gesture on behalf of Elon.
Well,
in case you've been under a rock, Elon Musk, CEO of
Texas-based company Tesla.
Yeah, Texas, big T.
So
big T.
They had to do something.
They did. It's PR, man. You know, it's all.
You got to get back
it's
in the
exactly
newswire, in the news feed, right?
Absolutely.
Got to have cycles.
Yep. Right.
He's on Twitter. He reads, right? He sees what people are talking about. He knows what's trending.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Tesla, okay. A couple years ago, believe it or not, Jay, it was right around this time. It was I think it was over the Thanksgiving holiday. He announced the Cybertruck.
Right.
It was in the fall, a couple years ago.
Right.
All right.
Broke some glass.
Broke some glass unintentionally and all that. And Tesla talked about, as kind of a mock-up, they had a quad, a four-wheel ATV.
Right.
In the back of that Cybertruck.
Aptly named.
The Cyberquad.
Aptly named the Cyberquad, yes.
And Elon at some point along the way said, yeah, I think we'll build that too. Now, you remember this, Jay? We did a segment where we talked about maybe it would be smart for him to just let like Yamaha or Honda or KTM or somebody like that just do the development. Because those people were already in development of their own electric power sports equipment.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. I think that the reason why he didn't, they didn't come out with it right away. He's in the process of moving to Texas. Now he's open in Texas. At it was the Tesla shareholders meeting, I guess it was, said that, why the quad hadn't come out and you can go there. It's because of safety, right?
Yeah, I mean, he said, like, we're trying to get it to a point where it won't flip over on you, where it has a low CG right. and it's basically not going to roll. And that's a big deal, safety-wise. Those things will kill you. They're heavy. Some of those things are between 500 and 1,000 pounds. I don't know what it would weigh with the battery packs in it. I'm talking about the traditional, like, four-stroke versions.
Exactly.
So, but this is not that. This is sort of just enough to keep everybody interested. Yeah. This is the kids' version of the Cyberquad.
Now, I have been preaching this on this podcast, on our show, future of the industry. Who are you marketing to?
Well,
they're marketing. There you go.
And he's smart because Sideshot is all about it. He loves the Cybertruck. Mm-hmm. He's got one sitting on his desk that I 3D printed for him 2 years ago. He's still sitting there, busted wheel and all. And I keep telling him one day I'll fix that for you. And I sent him this, Jay, and he immediately dug into it. Because he and I ride off-road. We're woods riders. He rides typically two-wheel. But I said, "Can you? Is this just marketing, or is this a Power Wheels, like kind of those little kids' cars that you buy at Walmart that seat like 3-year-olds in, and you can run over your parents' feet with them and all that, right?
Right.
Or is this something we can actually take in the woods? Can we take this thing in the dirt and the mud?" And he went and looked it up, and he's like, "No, it's got like a 15-mile range. It's got a governor on it. It'll do up to 10 miles an hour. It's got suspension on it, but that's the big key, right? You put suspension on them, you can ride them off road, you can hop over stuff,
right?"
And he's like, "No, it'll do it. You can take it off road. It's got like disc brakes on it and the whole deal."
Yeah, 10 to 15 miles an hour, I think, is the top speed on them. You can regulate it down to 10, but it has a top speed of 15. It's partnered with Radio Flyer, who everybody knows is a toy manufacturer, the Wagon,
famously the Wagons,
a lot of other,
right? Yep.
Famously the Wagons, and just in time for Christmas.
Yep.
Right. I personally, I think it leans more towards a toy than it does an actual.
Yeah, it's a high-end toy. I mean, you got Segway doing stuff like that that's in the thousands of dollars. Okay, so this thing, it's sold out, first of all. So if you were planning on getting one of these for Christmas,
amazing.
It's sold out in less than a day.
8 minutes.
Yeah, minutes.
8 minutes. I think it sold out in 8 minutes.
It was $1,900, and that's right up there with the Segway, hoverboard, the 9-bot stuff. That stuff's all in the range of. Well, it depends. You can go $300-$400 all the way up to a couple thousand. You get into e-bikes; those things are thousands of dollars. It's not out of the question to have a high-priced toy like this, especially from a guy like Elon.
Absolutely, and look, if you want to continue to help Tesla out, this is how you do it. This is how this works. So now what Tesla is saying, if you missed the Cyberquad this time around, Radio Flyer still offers the Tesla Model S battery-powered ride-on toy for $500. There's also a foot-powered My First Model Y at $80 for those who really want their kids to get into the whole Tesla thing early.
Just out of curiosity, because I knew this would happen, okay, I went on eBay.
Yeah.
Now, nobody's taken delivery of one of these yet.
Right.
Okay, that's important. So there is no guarantee that anybody's going to have one before Christmas. Okay?
Right.
But do you want to guess, Jay, without looking? Now people are going on eBay, and they're willing to show you that they have a confirmation number in their order. So they have a confirmed order. Okay?
Right.
And they will show you that, and in exchange, you can buy. They're offering, the day I get it, I'll turn around and ship it to you. Okay, I don't even know, and they're free shipping, so that's going to be a fortune.
Right.
But you want to guess what these things are going for on eBay right now?
I'm going to guess, and this could be low, but I would be surprised if it's low. But I think it's maybe in the middle, or right. Maybe I'm spot on, but I'm thinking around $5,000.
Okay. You nailed it. So the MSRP, Elon sold them on his Tesla store for $1,900. They're anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000. They range from $4,000 all the way up to. Now there's one here that's at an auction price of $3,500, but it'll close for higher. They are closing out between $4,500 and $5,000.
Right on. Now you mentioned shipping. Nobody will get it before Christmas.
Right.
They actually came right out. The product description, on the Tesla site, said the Cyberquad for kids will begin shipping in 2 to 4 weeks. Orders are not guaranteed to arrive prior to the holidays. So there you go. I wouldn't expect it. In fact, I would be surprised if anybody receives them in January. I would expect to see these things being shipped to their. And that again, we don't know how deep they've already been into this. Was Radio Flyer behind the scenes working with Tesla last year on this thing? We don't know. Could be. He's pretty good at keeping stuff close to the vest. So I think this is pretty cool. But now, again, the only reason this thing sold out is because of its association to the Cybertruck, which is an all-electric truck. Period.
Yeah, there's very little details on it from a performance perspective.
Right.
It's all namesake.
It's exact. I'm the first to own a Cyberquad. It's one of those things. And, I think that eventually down the road, some of these first editions will probably be worth more than even the $5,000 that they're getting now, just because of their notoriety for what they are. Don't know if it's going to be a limited edition. Haven't seen any of that yet. They haven't talked numbers, but we'll find out. But it's a toy. But the one that we're really waiting on is the real Cyberquad to come out with that new Cybertruck. Yep. That's the one we want. So, wow, man, cool stuff, huh?
All right, yeah. So, do you want to shift gears here a little bit? Talk about what are we going to talk about? Talk about somebody else, or do we have? No. You got some more. You got some more Tesla stuff.
See, that's what I'm saying. We're themed in this stuff, and we've got. Okay, so here we go. Cyberquad goes with the Cybertruck, and you had mentioned this earlier. Okay, so we got that combo. We love that. Elon, please get that Cyberquad figured out and get it out to sell with this truck. We talk about peer pressure in this industry. We talk about reactionary moves, and this is exactly what this is. So when the Cybertruck was revealed, we breaking glass, doing all these things. Elon has to be different with everything. And he was when he initially brought this thing to us and said, this is the new Cybertruck. A lot of interest in it. I think that the reservations sold out almost immediately or very quickly. And he had mentioned during that there were going to be some additional features down the road, that it would be an all-wheel drive. He's taken it a step further now. He's just made the announcement that they are going to be adding, separate motors on each wheel and all-wheel steering. And instead of like the tank mode from Rivian, it's going to be more like the crab walk with the Hummer.
Why would he come out and announce that? Oh, right, peer pressure.
Yeah.
Right. Because other people have... Okay, so it's a one... But this is not a bad thing. If we're going to play the one-upping game, the consumer wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because they'll get what they want. And I think people, when he saw the shift of the attention going over to the Hummer EV, I think he obviously paid attention to it and goes, okay, so they got this. We need to have that as well. And I think that you're going to see even more changes and features and stuff that say the F-150 Lightning capabilities. He is now no longer first in line for these things. Rivian has already come to production first on the all-electric pickup truck. The Ford F-150 will probably be out. The Lightning will probably be out before the truck. But you know what? I still think that this is going to be a huge success for Tesla.
All right.
Go.
So if you're Lorne Michaels or Will Ferrell and you're doing Celebrity Jeopardy, right, on Saturday Night Live, okay, you bring in Musk, you bring in Rivian CEO, what's his name?
Scarringe.
RJ.
Scarringe.
You bring in RJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's your third? Do you go Jim Farley from Ford? Do you go
I would
Mary
go with Jim. No, I would go with Jim Farley, and here's why: because of his connection to the famous
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Okay.
Right. They're related.
And you do. I mean, you got to make it like electric truck categories, right? Like just
right.
I mean,
right. Yeah. I mean, where would you start with that though? I mean, what kind of questions would you be asking, man? I mean, like broken glass for 500.
Yeah, right. Like that's it, right? Or apparently there's Musk and Bezos are not pals from what I've heard.
That's what I hear.
And so you do some Bezos in space category or something like that, or you do a space category or
Right. Yeah. Oh, penis-shaped rockets for 100.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
By the way, we had on this podcast a year or so ago, I had pre-ordered Starlink, which is Elon's internet from space, satellite-based internet company.
Right.
Here in Nashville, there was a weird string of lights over the city about a week ago, and he just sent up another fleet of satellites for Starlink. Now, some of my friends have said, "Oh, hold on, dude. It's not there yet. Like you pointed out, you can't use it in an RV or whatever. It's very city specific." But he has committed to, by I think it's 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to have pretty much national coverage.
Yeah,
he's just got to keep.
We're talking
he's
rural.
just got to keep shooting these rockets up as fast as he can, full of satellites.
The problem that he's up against right now, though, is now these are low orbit satellites. But the problem we're having is, and this is where Space Force comes in to hopefully keep everybody in check. But when you've got China blowing up satellites and Russia doing the same thing, all the debris. I mean, you got to know those guys that are developing these satellites and putting stuff up there. They're just like, their butts are tight, man, because it's like, that's a lot of money we put into this stuff, and you're going to be blowing up and putting debris everywhere.
Right.
Now, they're at different orbit range. I get that, levels of orbit, but it could be a problem. So it's good to see that he's still.
So we
still
have
doing
we need like a space Zamboni, like space trash. Like just it
Yeah.
orbits the planet looking for
Right.
debris, like one of those
Right.
street sweepers, you know?
Right,
Except
right.
it's-
Or what's the little vacuums that cats tend to ride on?
Oh, the Roombas. Yeah, we've got one.
Roombas, yeah.
We need
Yeah,
an
there you go.
intergalactic. We need a low orbit Roomba. Hey,
Yeah,
iRobot, you guys get to work on that. Okay.
Hey, Dyson, there's your little niches for a space vacuum. You know, here you go. The Dyson. What would you call
It's
that?
got to be clever. It's got to be clever.
The Dyson debris killer. So, yeah.
All right.
So, all right. So, anyway, coming to a hopefully a showroom soon to you will be the
or
new
driveway. Yeah.
the new Cyberquad truck with a crab crawl and a Hummer emblem. Anyway, you think that'll happen?
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
All right, so let's shift gears on. Yeah, let's shift gears a little bit, and this is something we touched on the last time we podcasted, but we kind of felt we wanted to touch on it because Nissan is now getting into the EVs heavily. They made the announcement.
God bless Nissan for trying, man. They have been in such turmoil after the whole Cello Escape Act, Carl's going,
right.
I
know, man, and they're still around. They're still
he's
around.
Kind of the celebrity version of Where's Waldo, but I digress.
Right.
So the company has publicly said, "Hey, we have some challenges in front of us."
Right.
But I mean it. I am so glad that they didn't just take their toys and go home. They are trying to figure this out and find a way through it.
Yeah, they are. And, we're going to talk about two. This is going to be an all-in-one here, an inclusive story here.
This is what we call two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one.
Okay.
But Nissan plans to launch 23 electrified models by 2030. And they unveiled recently 4 all-electric concepts. Now, they will launch 23 electrified models, but it includes 15 electric vehicles. And the automaker confirmed its plans with the announcement of its Ambition 2030 long-term vision. This will also see the company become carbon neutral across the life cycle of its products by 2050.
So, just think for a minute now. Don't forget, everyone, allow me to remind you that they kind of were on the leading edge of this with the Leaf.
That's right.
And Goen was around during that development, and they were taking risks. Back to an earlier segment that we talked about, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn it from red to gray. You'll get all of our episodes. You can go back and check the whole catalog. But we talked a little bit about automotive manufacturers, specifically Stellantis, coming out and saying this isn't it's cost prohibitive. It's not cost effective for us to do all this R&D on electric vehicles.
Right.
Because we're going to lose money, or we're going to have to jack the prices up to the consumers. Well, Nissan made a huge commitment with the Leaf. And
it was successful.
They had some massive changes in their organization, and they kind of their development slowed tremendously. Yeah, and it was successful on a lot of levels, DJ, not just the car itself, but it got everyone thinking about, if I drive this, how do I charge it? Where do I charge it? How am I going to,
how are we going to deal with this?
Mindset, right? It was the precursor to Tesla Model 3 mindset. It got everybody starting to focus on where can I actually use this thing. So unfortunately, there was a lot of turnover at Nissan, and they ceased to be the developmental leader. That gave way for some of these other folks to catch up now, but they haven't given up. They're back. They're trying to get back in the game, so to speak. And not just by announcing a bunch of vehicles in their lineup. They're also trying to push the battery technology envelope.
That's exactly right.
What do you know about that?
Well, they announced that it's okay. So the electrification is Ambition 2030 long-term strategy. That was going electric by
which
2030
lines up
and
with
then 2050, which lines
the
up
stuff
with
that the other manufacturers have committed to, and Europe's mandates and California's mandates, and it's going to align them with a lot of the regulatory stuff that's
right
choosing those same timeframes.
Right, and this is very similar to what we talked about previously with Stellantis, also going with a. It's not Factorial Energy is not the company that Nissan is partnering with, but the company says that it will introduce a cobalt-free technology without revealing the exact type to bring down the cost by 65% by fiscal year 2028, or what they say by the end of March 2029, which is their fiscal year end of 2028. Not only that, it says that by 2028, it will launch an electric vehicle with its proprietary all-solid-state batteries, which they call ASSB, and the pilot plan.
Wait a second. Mm-hmm. All solid state. Okay, that makes sense. I wasn't sure where they got that.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
ASB. The ASB, is if we're there, the ASB pilot plant is going to be in Yokohama. It's expected to be ready as early as fiscal year 2024. Guys, we're just now nearing 2022. That's 2 years away. We're not far from that. We are so close to cracking the nut on these battery problems and the cost of these batteries and the volatility of the batteries. It starts with this. Everybody says range is a problem, volatility is a problem, production costs are a problem. So when you look at it where they're going to be going for something, an alternative to cobalt, that automatically reduces the cost right away. Also a space saver, lightening up the vehicle. That's going to increase your range. If you see some of the sizes of these solid state battery packs, man, they're like the size of a 13-inch MacBook Pro. I'm talking length, height, and width. They're not that thick. They're not that big. You know, how many do you really have to make it go, 100 miles? Testing will tell that. They're still in the beta series of these things, and we'll see what happens. But they're not entirely sure whether solid-state batteries will be Nissan's cobalt-free technology or if it will be a separate solution to a more conventional cobalt-free chemistry like LFP. So there you go.
So if I'm Nissan, knowing that this is an expense, okay, what vehicle line do they have that they can put something like this in to absorb that cost? Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you are a Stellantis, you have Maserati, right? If you're Ford, you have Lincoln, right? If you're GM, you have Cadillac, which is where the Lyric's coming out.
Right.
If you're Ferrari, you're Ferrari. You're going to have the high-end Ferraris that are going to be, the most expensive, where you can absorb some of this cost. If you're, the Volkswagen Group or whatever they're calling themselves, you've got Audi, you've got Porsche, you've got, or actually, did I make a mistake there? I don't know that Porsche is part of their group, but Audi, is it?
They're part of the Audi, Audi VW.
But my point remains, right? You have a higher end brand that you can absorb some of those expenses. If you're Nissan and you're working on cutting edge technology like this solid state battery platform, what vehicles you can't put that in a Leaf, not initially, right?
No.
What do you do?
You've got to start testing the waters with some of your, and I like Side Shot's terminology on this, VIP type vehicles. Maybe the Infinity line gets electrified.
Do you
with a model
come out with a new Infinity product, or do you? I
think so, because those are higher end vehicles. That's where you're going to get your profit margins from. We talked about it with the Koenigsegg. If you're going to get to that next level, man, you got to have that money coming in, man. And it's the high end technology. If you put it into your luxury line
now, okay. So I hear you. Okay,
you see what I'm saying, right?
But here's the problem. Okay, so let's just take Lexus. All right. So Lexus has several SUV crossover type vehicles. Like the RX is probably the most popular. Okay. And they've got the NX. Okay. And you get up to the big stuff like the GX. That, some of that we saw at SEMA. But Infiniti there is a class competitor for each one of those. Infiniti is trying to sell against an Acura product, an Lexus product. If they drop a solid state battery in one of their existing Infiniti vehicles, like their QX, it prices. They've now priced that out of the competition. So people that were looking at like a Lexus GX, they're now not going to be looking at that Infiniti because it's going to cost quite a bit more. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't see a way through this unless they create a whole new vehicle for it.
Well, they have 4 concept vehicles.
Yeah,
that
those would have to end up being
about.
Infinitis, right? They would have to.
Not necessarily. I mean, yes and no, but I mean, I don't see that being an issue with. If you looked at some of the ones they had let's see, it's kind of interesting names, by the way. Which by the way, Nissan plans to invest nearly 2 trillion yen, which equates to I think around $18 billion to accelerate the electrification of its lineup. That's a lot of money if you don't think they're serious about it. I'm trying to find the model names here to these things.
Well, they were all like
okay,
surf, outdoorsy,
chill out. Yeah, the Chill Out, the Nissan Max Out, the Nissan Surf Out, and the Nissan Hangout. And they all have their own little concept. I get it. So the Surf Out is a pickup truck.
Yeah.
The Hangout is kind of a flat-bodied type vehicle that's very comfortable for people to just hang out in, kind of a thing.
Honda Odyssey is what I thought of when I saw it, right?
Yes, very similar to that. So those I can see, would you really have to come out with something, a newer model to do that and do away with? Or do you bring back something that you've killed off? I mean, you know what I mean? Like say, maybe, I don't know, what's a flagship that they killed recently, one of the SUVs that Nissan killed?
I get your point. Yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that maybe you bring it back as electrified. I'm wondering if that's not what some of these manufacturers are doing intentionally to bring them back as electric vehicles. I don't know. But I think you have to pay attention to who you're marketing to. And I think that what they're doing here with these 4 concept vehicles, if you just by name alone and what they're going to be used for, it tells me that they're marketing to your son right now.
Yeah.
And that's where the answer is. That's who gets to buy these things and who will probably be more willing to buy them because this is all they know. Whereas it'll be a lot harder to have that, 70-year-old retired CEO that's been driving an Infiniti for all these years to maybe adjust to that still wants that. And don't take away my gasoline engine, man. I'm not buying that kind of stuff. It might be.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So I think I get your point. I get your point there. I'm not saying I don't think you can't use existing models because I think you can. But you're right. It depends on which model. But you're right on the Infiniti flagship stuff because I guess you could potentially price yourself way out there. But we don't know what the cost of this stuff is going to be. Right? They're saying the reduction in cost over time will make it very affordable for solid-state batteries in the next 10 years. So there's your answer to that. I mean, that's the best answer I have. I think it's the solution. I think that the solid-state batteries are the solution to this thing. So.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's definitely interesting to kind of watch this and be in the middle of what we're in the middle of. Who would have, like you pointed out before we hit record, when we started this 3 years ago, we kind of had an idea of what was happening, but I don't think either of us thought it would be this big of a player talking about EVs in the industry.
I had no idea. I mean, I am completely blown away with how many of the ones that said they weren't going there have recently in the last year gone there. And I mean, I'm not talking putting toes in the water, man. I'm talking about head first getting in it. And this is another fine example with Nissan doing it. So congrats to Nissan for staying on, in the conversation. I'm happy for them. We thought we were going to lose them for the longest time, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, yes, we will, and you can, everybody, see what happens. This will not be the last time we discuss this, for sure. So make sure that you are subscribed to, first of all, if you're listening to the podcast, thank you. If you are watching this or not subscribed to the podcast, the easiest way to do that is to go to our website. It's partscounterguru.com. There is a podcast links tab somewhere at the top section of that website near the left, I think.
Correct.
And if you click on that podcast links, it will take you to basically all the podcast platforms. You find the one that you love the most, and you can subscribe to us there. Over on the YouTube side, it's youtube.com/partscountergurus. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button there, and you will get all of our video segments delivered directly to your whatever device you use to watch YouTube on. What just happened here, Jay? This is normally you that does all this.
Yeah. Well, don't ask me to take us out today because I'm not prepared for that. But,
what I missed, man? I don't know. I just the spirit moved me, and I just sort of
You didn't miss anything. I'll just remind everybody that we also have a social media presence, and that's facebook.com/PartsCounterGurus. We're on Instagram, and that is instagram.com/ThePartsCounterGurus. And then we are also on Twitter, and our handle is @TheCounterShow. And subscribe, follow us. We got all kinds of cool stuff out there, so that's about it.
So all right. Us out, man. PRI show coming up soon. Make sure you're plugged in, as previously mentioned, so that you can get all the news on that. It'll be. I can't wait to see what we find there. So, and we'll pass it on to you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for my pal Jay over there. I forgot.
I'm right here, man.
Yeah, you're over there. Okay. I'm Keith. Thank you again. I'll leave you with these words. When life gives you a dumpster fire, roast marshmallows. See you next time, guys.